The 10th Relic, The Circle of the Future. Episode 1. Discovery in the Green Abyss. 1. Lost in the Green. In the year 2040, the Peruvian jungle still defied the relentless march of global urbanization. Ancient trees soared into the sky, vying for sunlight in a canopy that formed nature's own architecture. The lower levels were thick with sprawling vines, shrubs, and mossy rocks, while the roars of unseen creatures echoed in every corner. Streams trickled beside mud-packed footpaths, and the humidity made breathing feel like wading through water. For Dr. Felicia Morales, the lead anthropologist of the University of Buenos Aires' Archaeofuture initiative, this was the perfect place for a new excavation. Even the best satellite imaging failed to penetrate the dense canopy in many regions of Peru, leaving large swathes of land a mystery. Rumors of newly discovered burial mounds had circulated among local communities for decades, but the exact location remained elusive until 5 days ago. That was when a small team of indigenous guides found a skull cave in the remote region of the Alto Madre de Dios. They stumbled upon what appeared to be a sealed chamber. Inside, they spotted something that didn't belong, a strange metallic object bearing symbols that no one recognized. Uncertain of its significance, they notified local authorities, who then reached out to Dr. Morales' team. Now, Felicia stood at the threshold of an archaeological dream. Her boots sank into the soft rainforest floor. Beads of sweat rolled from her forehead despite the advanced self-cooling vest she wore, a testament to the continuing difficulties of fieldwork in one of the hottest, most humid corners of the globe. At her side hovered one of the expedition's most advanced pieces of technology, Vega, a robotic AI assistant shaped like a silver cylinder half the size of a human torso. Vega had 4 propeller-like extensions, allowing it to hover up to 2 meters above ground, scanning and documenting the environment with an array of cameras and sensors. Dr. Morales, humidity levels are over 90%, Vega announced in its matter-of-fact androgynous voice. Sustained heat index, 38 degrees Celsius. This environment is suboptimal for electronics and some standard excavation instruments. Felicia wiped her brow, glancing at the reading on the small wrist display that synced with Vega's sensors. Thanks, Vega. Maintain standard scanning protocols. Let me know if you detect anything unusual, metallic or otherwise. Certainly, Dr. Morales. Initiating LiDAR, ground-penetrating radar, and micro-resonance imaging scans of the topsoil, Vega said, drifting upward and rotating gently. We need to be cautious, Doctor. Marcus Delgado chimed in from behind. Delgado, a Peruvian-born archaeologist whose specialism lay in pre-Inca civilizations, was close to 6 feet tall and built like a brick wall. Yet he moved gracefully among the tangled vines, carefully stepping around fragile roots. We don't know what kind of structural integrity we're dealing with in that chamber, Delgado continued, pointing to the large mound a few meters ahead. If the locals found the entrance, it might have collapsed, or it might be rigged with booby traps. The indigenous communities here sometimes protected their burial sites with pitfalls or other hazards. Felicia nodded, recognizing the validity of Delgado's caution. Let's do a quick ground-penetrating radar pass around the perimeter before we send in the drones. Standing off to the side, adjusting some fine-tuned sensors on a humanoid robot, was Dr. Li Fang, the group's quantum computing specialist. Lean, precise, and with close-cropped black hair, Dr. Fang was initially an outsider to the anthropological circles. His background was in advanced AI systems, quantum encryption, and materials analysis. He'd been brought in specifically because the find was rumored to have metallic or synthetic components. Next to him was Atlas, a bipedal robotic assistant with flexible joints and a translucent polymer shell. Atlas was designed for carrying equipment, performing delicate tasks requiring a humanoid form and offering advanced computational capabilities in the field. If there really is a metallic object inside, I'll be able to get a partial material composition from the sensor array, said Li Fang, double-checking Atlas's power reserves. I just need to get close enough and remain stable for a full scan. Then let's hope it's in good shape, Felicia said, excitement resonating in her voice. Because if the preliminary photos taken by the guides were any indication, they'd just stumbled upon something that looked more futuristic than ancient. She had glimpsed the grainy images, an oblong plate with grooves, etched lines, and some type of embedded crystalline structure. The older images, possibly older by centuries, didn't show anything like that, at least not from the known cultures in this region. So, was it a newly placed object in an ancient site? Or did it date back to some advanced civilization that predated the Incas? The thrill of the unknown took hold, and Felicia felt a surge of adrenaline. She signaled the rest of the group to push forward. The time had come to unravel the secrets of this hidden tomb in the green abyss. 2. Entering the burial site. After cataloguing the perimeter, the team slowly approached the sealed chamber's entrance. Vega floated ahead, scanning every inch, generating a 3D model in real time. Overlaid on Felicia's wrist display was a wireframe blueprint showing the shape of an underground passage leading to what appeared to be a small domed chamber. A handful of skeletons were indicated on the scans, likely remains of ancient inhabitants. But near the center was the densest reading of metallic composition. The metallic mass is approximately 14 kilograms, Vega reported. Shape is elongated, with irregular protrusions that correspond to some advanced geometry. Advanced geometry? Delgado raised his eyebrows. That's not exactly typical of the cultures in this region from even the last few centuries. They used gold, silver, copper, sometimes shaped into figurines or ornaments. But advanced geometry? Maybe it's just an unusual design, Felicia offered, though her curiosity soared. We won't know until we see it up close. The path to the tomb's entrance was cleared by Atlas, who gently removed debris, vines, and loose stones blocking the narrow passage. The interior smelled of damp earth and decaying wood. Overhead, the support beams, likely centuries old, looked precarious. Stepping inside, the team's headlamps pierced the gloom. The corridor was carved from packed earth, reinforced with irregularly placed wooden beams. Vibrations from the outside jungle seemed muted, as if the chamber existed in a bubble of ancient stillness. Structural integrity is questionable, Vega warned, hovering behind Felicia. Support beams are partially rotted. We'll proceed slowly, Felicia said. Marcus, see if you can secure any loose supports. Delgado moved to brace one of the beams with a portable carbon fiber rod, hooking it into place. Dust filtered down like ghostly snow. Then the team advanced another 10 feet into the interior, arriving at a circular vault. The vault was about 4 meters in diameter, with walls lined by carved glyphs. Felicia recognized them as an amalgamation of local symbols, some reminiscent of the Wari culture, but with influences from other Andean civilizations. Rows of skeletal remains lay at the perimeter, each aligned in a radial pattern pointing toward the center. And in the center, half embedded in the earthen floor, was the mysterious metallic object. Flashlights and robotic illuminators revealed a dull metallic sheen, more gray than silver, punctuated by dark, labyrinthine etchings. A faint glow emanated from what looked like a cluster of tiny crystal nodes on its surface. That's not typical, Delgado whispered, stepping closer. Felicia crouched, transfixed. The object was roughly 1/2 meter in length, oval at its widest point, tapering to an angular protrusion. The etched lines on its surface were sharp and precise, forming geometric shapes that looked oddly futuristic. She couldn't identify any cultural or artistic hallmark from known Andean civilizations. Let me scan, Dr. Fang said, positioning Atlas next to the artifact. The humanoid robot bent down, extended a sensor array from its left forearm, and began sweeping the device with invisible pulses. Composition suggests a high-grade alloy with traces of hafnium, niobium, and carbon composites. There's also a crystalline matrix that's resonating at a frequency I've never seen in local artifacts. Felicia felt her heartbeat quicken. So this might not be from here at all. It's definitely not from any pre-Columbian culture, Delgado said grimly. We don't know that for sure, Felicia cautioned. Let's not jump to conclusions until we run thorough tests. We'll preserve and document everything. Still, she couldn't help but feel a tug of excitement and apprehension. They might have discovered something that could rewrite their understanding of the region's history, or something that wasn't historical at all. Third, extraction. It took 3 more hours for the team to prepare the artifact for safe removal. They cleared away earth, scanned the immediate surroundings, and meticulously recorded the object's position. Li Fang carefully directed Atlas to lift the device from beneath. The moment the artifact was free, an unexpected reaction occurred. A faint luminescence flickered across its surface, as though awakened by the movement. It's responding to being moved, Fang said, eyes wide. I'm picking up a low-level electromagnetic field. Be careful, warned Felicia. We don't know if it's stable or if it contains some ancient mechanism. Ancient? Delgado repeated skeptically, but said no more. Once safely placed in a protective container, the artifact was transported outside the tomb. The noon sun bore down, glinting off the container's metal frame. I'll run a preliminary chemical analysis in the field lab, Fang said. But for more advanced tests, we'll need a quantum computing facility. I'd like to get it to the research station in Lima as soon as possible. Felicia looked around. The jungle's hum was omnipresent, a tapestry of insect chirps and bird calls. She turned back to the newly uncovered tomb entrance. We'll do one more pass to ensure there's nothing else inside that might be relevant. Then we'll pack up and head out at first light tomorrow. Something in her gut told her this was just the beginning. The idea of an object that looked like it came from a future more than a past wouldn't leave her mind. Atlas, she finally said, continue scanning the tomb for any additional metal or electronic traces. Affirmative, the humanoid robot said in a smooth, synthetic voice, stepping back into the darkness. Vega hovered nearby, silently documenting the entire scene, its optical sensors capturing every detail. In the half-light of the late afternoon, with a thunderstorm brewing overhead, Felicia watched the container holding the artifact. She couldn't shake the feeling that they were stepping onto a path that would challenge everything they knew about the line between ancient and futuristic. Fourth Field Lab Revelations. Later that evening, the team gathered at a makeshift base camp near the banks of a swollen river. Tents, advanced generator systems, and an inflatable lab shelter dotted the clearing. Overhead, tarps protected the equipment from the nightly rains. Inside the lab shelter, Dr. Fang hunched over a portable quantum scanner console. This piece of equipment, the Q-Scope 7, was small enough to bring into the field, but powerful enough to perform rudimentary quantum resonance imaging. The artifact, still in its protective case, sat on a carbon fiber table. A thin beam of violet light danced across its surface, reading its structural integrity at a subatomic level. I'm seeing something quite peculiar, Fang announced. The lattice structure in the crystal nodes suggests a level of manufacturing that's beyond typical modern engineering capabilities, at least for mass production. Wait, Felicia said, stepping closer. You mean this was made by technology more advanced than ours? Not necessarily more advanced, but it's specialized. The doping patterns in the crystalline matrix are non-standard. It's like a mixture of quantum computing hardware with a metamaterial that's unbelievably stable. Could be an experimental piece of technology from some cutting-edge lab. But how in the world did it end up in an ancient Peruvian burial site? Stolen or lost by a research team? Delgado suggested. Smugglers, leaving it behind for some reason? Maybe, Fang said. But even then, this doesn't look like a normal research prototype. It has markings. Look here. He pointed to the artifact's surface. The etched lines, viewed under the Q-scope's magnification, were more than mere decorative patterns. They formed circuit-like pathways, branching out in fractal geometries. If we treat each etched line as a data bus or a waveguide, Fang continued, it's basically a sophisticated computing device. a piece of hardware that could store or process massive amounts of data using quantum states. Felicia tried to piece it all together. What if it's a hoax? Something constructed to look alien or futuristic and then planted in the tomb? Entirely possible, Fang conceded, but the level of detail is extraordinary, and forging this structure would require extremely rare materials and technology. We might need a full-scale quantum lab analysis, Delgado said, crossing his arms. We have to figure out how old this thing truly is. Felicia nodded. Let's do a carbon dating on any organic residue that might be on its surface. And let's also do a direct quantum age resonance test if possible, though that's usually done in specialized facilities. The team worked late into the night, each analysis revealing that the artifact's manufacture date, assuming it was manufactured, didn't align with typical 20th or 21st century techniques, and the partial carbon dating on trace organic matter suggested it hadn't been in that tomb for long. In fact, the results implied the artifact was only a few years old at most. That's insane, Delgado muttered as he stared at the data on a hollow display. We're in the year 2040, and you're telling me this artifact is less than 5 years old, but it's found in a tomb that's centuries old. Fang exhaled slowly. Someone put it there. Recently. But why? Felicia simply stared at the artifact, feeling her heart pound. If this was a hoax, it was an outrageously sophisticated one. If it wasn't a hoax, the implications were staggering. Outside, the rain hammered the canvas overhead. Lightning flashed, illuminating the night sky. Inside the shelter, Felicia, Delgado, and Fang exchanged uneasy glances, knowing that they'd just crossed the threshold of a mystery that would take them far beyond the Peruvian jungle. 5. Disturbing rumors and a long journey ahead. By dawn, the storm had passed, leaving the camp soggy but intact. The team convened over coffee and freeze-dried meals, discussing their next move. They decided they would depart for Lima by helicopter that afternoon. From Lima, they would head to an advanced research lab in Cusco, which boasted a next-generation quantum computer known as the Quantum Eye, the perfect system to analyze any hidden data stored within the artifact's crystalline lattice. Vega and Atlas, their AI companions, assisted in packing, labeling samples, and cataloging the site's coordinates. Meanwhile, Dr. Carmen Ochoa, the newest member of the anthropological team, arrived by small charter plane at a makeshift airstrip several kilometers away. Carmen specialized in linguistic anthropology and had come to examine any inscriptions or symbolic writing discovered in the tomb. She was short, with curly black hair, and wore large-rimmed glasses that constantly reflected the environment around her. "Sorry for the late arrival," Carmen said, shaking Felicia's hand. "You wouldn't believe the bureaucratic hold-ups at the airport." "Glad you could make it," Felicia said, "though we may not have much in the way of ancient texts for you to decipher. We've found glyphs, yes, but it's the artifact that's become the main event." "I look forward to seeing it," Carmen said, eyes bright with curiosity. "I've heard some wild rumors about that thing already." Rumors were indeed spreading. Local guides whispered that the object might be not of this earth. While the rational part of Felicia dismissed that as speculation fueled by ignorance and sensationalism, she couldn't deny the uniqueness of the device. She also couldn't deny how anomalous it was to find something apparently so new in a place so old. By midday, they dismantled the camp and prepared for the helicopter's arrival. As Felicia looked around the drenched clearing, she felt a pang of excitement mixed with a tinge of dread. They were leaving one jungle behind, but they were about to enter another, more metaphorical jungle, of intrigue, speculation, and possibly global ramifications. "We're going to get to the bottom of this," she told Delgado quietly, watching as Fang and Carmen sealed the artifact's case. "I hope so," Delgado replied. "Something this strange doesn't just happen. There's a reason it was planted in that tomb, or a reason it was discovered there, and I plan to find out what it is." A short time later, the helicopter blades cut through the humid air, carrying the team and their precious find away from the green abyss. Below them, the treetops receded like waves of a great emerald ocean, concealing millennia of secrets, but none, perhaps, quite as perplexing as the one they now carried. Episode 2: Digital Ghosts and Data Shadows. 1. Arrival at the Quantum Eye Laboratory. The flight to Lima was bumpy due to the residual storm activity, but the real journey took place on the ground. After a thorough decontamination protocol in Lima, the team secured the artifact in a radiation-proof, magnetically shielded container and boarded a bullet train to Cusco. By the time they arrived, the sun had dipped below the Andean peaks, painting the sky a deep crimson. The Quantum Eye Lab was housed in a sprawling modern complex made primarily of glass and steel. Surrounded by high fences and patrolled by security drones, the facility looked more like a cutting-edge corporate research center than an academic institution. Yet, it was funded jointly by government grants and private tech conglomerates, all vying for breakthroughs in quantum computing. "Security is tighter than I expected," Delgado noted, presenting his ID at a checkpoint. "The Quantum Eye is rumored to be the most powerful quantum computing system in South America," explained Dr. Fang. "Developed through a collaboration between the Brazilian Tech Initiative and Argentinian AI labs. They guard it like gold." Within the central lab, they were met by Dr. Samantha Alvarez, head of advanced research. Tall, poised, with an air of authority, Alvarez wore a stylish suit and carried a tablet with the lab's crest. She greeted them warmly yet professionally, her eyes lingering with curiosity on the container holding the artifact. "We've received your request for a full-spectrum quantum resonance analysis," she said. "Is this the object in question?" Felicia nodded, gesturing to Fang, who carefully set the container on a high-security work table. "We're hoping you can help us find out what's inside, or if there's data embedded in it." "We'll do our best," Alvarez said. She tapped a command into her tablet, and a series of robotic arms and sensors unfurled from the ceiling. "We'll begin with a thorough resonance tomography. Then we'll move to a quantum entanglement data search, scanning for stored qubits." Fang exchanged a subtle look with Felicia. Even in 2040, the ability to read stored qubits in a mysterious device was borderline science fiction. The fact that the Quantum Eye Lab was equipped to do so spoke volumes about the leaps technology had taken in the last decade. "How soon can we start?" Carmen asked, adjusting her glasses. "Immediately," Alvarez replied. For the next several hours, the artifact was subject to the most advanced scanning equipment on the planet. The lab's spherical chamber was lined with superconducting circuits. Temperature sensors brought the environment to near absolute zero in certain spots. Their goal was to minimize thermal noise to detect even the faintest quantum signals. The artifact was placed at the center of this sphere, bathed in scanning beams that probed every subatomic nook. Meanwhile, Felicia and Delgado paced outside in a viewing gallery, watching the process through a glass partition. Fang sat at a console with Alvarez, monitoring readouts. Carmen scribbled notes, occasionally pressing her face to the glass in awe. "Do you think we'll find something conclusive?" Delgado asked softly. "I hope so," Felicia replied. "I'm honestly torn between wanting this to be a hoax and wanting it to be something truly extraordinary." "Be careful what you wish for," Delgado murmured, recalling the local guide's talk of aliens. 2. The shocking results. After nearly 5 hours of scanning, Alvarez emerged from the chamber control room with Fang in tow. Their expressions were a mix of exhilaration and confusion. "We found something," Alvarez said, keeping her voice controlled but tight with excitement. "The device does contain qubits, an arrangement of quantum states that appear to store encoded information. It's like a next-generation quantum storage medium." "That's incredible," Felicia said. "So it's definitely man-made." "As far as we can tell, yes," Fang answered. "There's no indication of an exotic origin beyond Earth. The materials, though advanced, are synthetic composites we theoretically could produce." "Then it might be a sophisticated hoax," Delgado said, "or some top-secret prototype that ended up buried in an ancient tomb." "Possibly," Alvarez continued, her lips pressing into a thin line. "But there's more. The quantum lifetime markers we use to estimate the device's manufacture date suggest it's extremely recent. Within the last 3 years, give or take. This isn't some relic from 50 or 100 years ago, it's practically brand new." The team exchanged stunned looks. Even though their earlier field tests hinted at a recent origin, seeing it confirmed at the highest level was jarring. "Then why place it in an ancient tomb in the Peruvian jungle?" Carmen asked, an edge in her voice. "It makes no sense unless someone wanted it to be found under bizarre circumstances." "Or wanted to hide it from someone else," Fang suggested. "A remote, centuries-old tomb in the jungle is a good place to stash something. Who would think to look there?" Felicia raised an eyebrow. "But it was eventually found, almost as if it was meant to be discovered. This is deliberate, no matter how you slice it." "This might be just the beginning," Alvarez said, her gaze drifting to the artifact behind the glass. "We're attempting to decode the stored qubits, but the encryption is formidable, unlike anything we've seen. We may need days of dedicated quantum computing time to crack it, maybe more." "We'll stay as long as it takes," Felicia declared, ignoring the tightness forming in her chest. Something about this felt bigger than them, as if they were pawns in someone else's game. Third late-night conversation. 2 nights later, the team found themselves ensconced in a lounge just off the main lab corridor. It was nearing midnight, yet the flickering LED strips on the ceiling revealed the tired but restless faces of Felicia, Delgado, Fang, and Carmen. They sat on sleek modern couches, sipping vending machine coffee, while across from them, Atlas and Vega recharged in a corner, their artificial minds presumably at rest. "Any progress with the encryption?" Delgado asked Fang. "Not yet," Fang said, massaging his temple. "We keep hitting a wall. The quantum entanglement scheme is highly advanced, likely proprietary. We're trying known cryptographic algorithms, but none are working." "We might need a specialized cryptographer," Carmen suggested, "or someone with knowledge of who created this device." Felicia nodded. "Dr. Alvarez mentioned that she has some contacts in the global cryptography community. She's reaching out to see if any known labs are working on this level of technology." "I wish we could glean more from the artifact's inscriptions," Carmen said wistfully. "But those etched lines aren't a language as far as I can tell. They're circuit paths. Not exactly my expertise." Delgado rubbed his chin. "Still, we're missing a motive. Who gains what by burying a brand new quantum storage device in an ancient Peruvian tomb?" The hum of lab machinery provided a backdrop of electronic static. They all turned to look at the sealed room beyond the glass wall, where the artifact sat beneath a heavy protective field. The environment was carefully controlled, only allowing authorized personnel to enter. "This is going to sound crazy," Fang said after a moment. "But the device could be a plant from some off-world entity, if it's not from Earth." "We found no evidence of that," Felicia reminded him gently. "The material is synthetic, but still consistent with Earth-based elements. Let's not go jumping to an alien origin." "You're right," Fang conceded. "But I can't ignore the possibility. I've seen some advanced prototypes, but nothing quite like this. Maybe it's from a black-budget project. Maybe from a private corporation that's leaps ahead in quantum tech, or maybe from a foreign power experimenting in covert ways. Felicia closed her eyes for a second, letting the theories swirl in her mind. The possibilities were vast, and each new angle only deepened the mystery. "Let's try to get some rest," she finally said. "We can't do much more until we see if Dr. Alvarez can crack the encryption. Tomorrow's another day." They all stood, powering down the lounge's lights, each carrying the weight of the unsolved puzzle. Vega and Atlas followed them out, their robotic forms gliding and stepping silently through the corridors. Fourth, an urgent communication. At dawn the next day, Felicia was awakened by the insistent chirp of her wrist communicator. She sat up in the small dorm room provided by the lab, rubbing her eyes. "Doctor." Morales. It was Doctor Alvarez, sounding anxious. "We just got a call from a research team in Tibet. They claim to have found something almost identical to your artifact at a burial site in the Himalayas." Felicia blinked in disbelief. "Wait, identical how?" "They sent preliminary scans. The shape, the crystalline nodules, the fractal etchings. It's nearly the same object." Felicia's heartbeat quickened. Another one? Was this some global phenomenon? "I'm on my way," she said, quickly pulling on her clothes. "Gather the team." A few minutes later, they were all assembled in the central control room. The large holodisplay showed side-by-side images of two artifacts, Felicia's artifact on the left and a newly discovered one on the right. Beyond minor scuffs and color variations, they were practically twins. "This is from a Himalayan burial site in Tibet," Alvarez explained. "The site is centuries old, but the artifact is apparently new, just like ours." Delgado ran a hand through his hair. "So it's not just Peru." "I made some phone calls," Alvarez continued, her tone grave. "There are unconfirmed reports of similar discoveries in Indonesia, New Guinea, and even in a submerged ceremonial site off the coast of Japan, all found in the last couple of weeks." Carmen looked stunned. "This is bigger than we thought. Someone, or something, is planting these artifacts in ancient burial sites around the world." "But why?" Felicia whispered. No one had an answer. Fang gazed at the data on the holoscreen, his eyes dark with a mixture of fear and excitement. "We have to investigate these other sites," he finally said. "Coordinate with the teams there, compare data, see if the encryption or the quantum storage patterns match. Maybe we can piece together the bigger puzzle." Felicia nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility. "I'll get funding and clearance. We can't just sit here. If there are multiple artifacts, we need to find out who's behind this and what they contain." They all recognized the stakes. What was once an intriguing curiosity had become a global mystery, pulling them deeper with every new piece of evidence. 5. Departure and suspicion. That evening, Felicia, Delgado, Fang, and Carmen convened in Dr. Alvarez's office to plan their next steps. The Tibetan researchers had already invited them to collaborate. Preliminary images from the other sites were inconclusive, but every rumor pointed to a consistent pattern: advanced quantum devices hidden in places of ancient significance. "I think we should split up," Delgado suggested. "Send some of us to Tibet, others to Indonesia. We can cover more ground." "That would be best," Fang agreed. "But we'll need the resources, travel, local guides, permits." "Leave that to me, Doctor," Alvarez said with a quiet determination. "This is clearly of global importance. I'll contact my sponsors and government partners." "What about the artifact here?" Felicia asked. "We haven't cracked it yet." "We'll keep working," Alvarez assured. "You focus on gathering more data from the other sites. The more we know, the closer we might get to unlocking the device's secrets." They stood to leave, tension etched in their faces. As Felicia collected her notes, she caught a glimpse of Fang staring intently at a monitor that displayed the artifact's quantum encryption patterns, colorful fractal shapes swirling in the screen. He seemed enthralled, as if trying to read meaning into chaos. "You okay?" she asked softly. Yeah, Fang said, not turning away from the screen. It's just, if this is recent, if there are multiples, the odds that it's some random fluke seem astronomically small. It's almost like someone wants us to find them. Felicia shivered. Let's hope whoever it is, they have harmless intentions. Yeah, Fang said quietly. Let's hope. Outside, night descended upon the towering Andean peaks. Somewhere across the globe, more artifacts lay nestled in ancient tombs, waiting to be found or revealed. The stage was set for a journey that would take Felicia and her colleagues from the high passes of the Himalayas to the dense jungles of Indonesia, from mysterious island cultures in the Pacific to the far corners of the earth. A global treasure hunt had begun, yet it felt more like a trap. They would soon discover that the more they learned, the less they understood, and that the greatest mysteries were still to come. Episode 3. Across the Earth, the puzzle deepens. First Team divisions and departure. Over the next few days, the plan came together swiftly. Dr. Alvarez secured the necessary resources, and global research institutions lined up to support the effort. The artifact's discovery, though not yet widely publicized, was becoming an open secret in elite academic and intelligence circles. Felicia and Delgado were assigned to lead an expedition to Tibet, where the first confirmed sibling artifact had been found. Dr. Fang and Carmen would travel to Indonesia to investigate another site rumored to house a similar device. Meanwhile, Dr. Alvarez's lab would continue to analyze the Peruvian artifact's encryption, providing real-time updates. On the final night before departure, the entire group convened in a small briefing room. Charts, satellite images, and preliminary data about the various sites covered the walls. Atlas, Vega, and two new drone assistants, Sierra and Nova, stood by with crates of specialized scanning equipment, translation software, and portable quantum labs. Stay safe out there, Alvarez said, her voice unwavering but filled with concern. We're dealing with unknown factors. If these artifacts are being planted, we don't know by whom or why. Felicia nodded. We'll keep in constant contact. Let's hope we can shed some light on this mystery soon. The two teams parted ways. Within hours, Felicia and Delgado, along with Atlas and Vega, boarded a high-speed flight to Nepal, from where they would travel overland into Tibet. Carmen, Fang, and the new drones took another route, heading to Jakarta before venturing into the jungles of Kalimantan. 2. High-altitude mystery, Tibet. Felicia found herself gazing at the rooftops of Lhasa, Tibet's capital, as their transport helicopter approached the city's outskirts. Despite modern infrastructure introduced in recent decades, Tibet remained a region steeped in cultural identity. Towering mountains framed every view, and the thin air made every breath a conscious effort. They were greeted by Dr. Tenzin Dorji, a local anthropologist from the Himalayan Cultural Preservation Institute. Short, wiry, and sporting a perpetual squint from years spent in high-altitude sun, Tenzin guided Felicia and Delgado through the labyrinthine streets to a research compound near the Yokang Temple. Inside, they were shown an object nearly identical to the Peruvian artifact. Dr. Dorji explained that it had been discovered in a burial cave high in the Himalayas, where local shepherds had stumbled upon it. We performed basic tests, Tenzin said in accented English. Like yours, it seems new, with advanced materials, not from any known Himalayan culture. The question is, who placed it there? Felicia couldn't help but notice how the Tibetan artifact had the same fractal engravings and crystalline nodules. Even the subtle luminescent flicker was present. It was uncanny. We'd like to examine the original cave site, Delgado said. Perform scans of the surrounding area. We leave tomorrow, Tenzin replied. It's a difficult journey, but we have a solid camp and oxygen supplies. That night, Felicia, Delgado, and Tenzin pored over topographical maps, while Atlas and Vega performed software updates. The entire time, Felicia's thoughts drifted to the question that haunted them all. Why would identical quantum devices appear in tombs across the globe? 3. The Ascent. The next day, the team found themselves strapped into a rugged off-road vehicle, bouncing along dusty roads that wound ever higher into the mountains. Snow-capped peaks loomed in every direction, and the air grew thinner with each turn. At a remote outpost, they transferred to yaks for the final push to the cave site. "How are you holding up?" Delgado asked Felicia as they trudged along the narrow trail. "I've been better," Felicia said, panting, "but the excitement is keeping me going." Tenzin led the way, sure-footed on the rocky terrain. Atlas followed behind, carrying supplies and scanning instruments. Vega hovered overhead, its propellers whirring softly in the thin air. "Elevation is 4,900 meters, Vega announced. "Oxygen levels are at 60% of sea level. Please maintain safe exertion rates." Eventually, they reached a narrow crevice in the side of a steep cliff, where Tenzin explained that a hidden cavern lay beyond. After a few precarious steps into the darkness, they entered a spacious chamber lit by cracks in the rock ceiling. At the far end lay a row of ancient cairns, stacked stones used in Tibetan burial customs. "This is where the artifact was found," Tenzin said softly, bowing his head in respect for the burial site. Felicia and Delgado immediately began scanning the area with ground-penetrating radar and electromagnetic sensors. Atlas set up a portable workstation, while Vega mapped the interior with LiDAR. In the dim, dusty air, specks of sunlight danced across the stone walls, revealing faded murals of Tibetan deities and symbolic imagery. Yet, among these ancient relics, the presence of a state-of-the-art quantum device defied understanding. No residual footprints or drag marks indicating how recently it was placed here, Delgado noted, scrolling through the sensor data. "The ground is too rocky." "We do have trace metal residues near one of the cairns," Felicia said, pointing at a readout. "Like someone placed the artifact on top or inside it." Tenzin nodded gravely. "It's as if the device was hidden in plain sight, waiting for the right eyes to find it. Almost ceremonial." Felicia knelt beside the cairn, her breath labored from the altitude. She gently brushed away some loose stones. Underneath, she discovered faint scratch marks on the rock, straight lines, as though something heavy and metallic had been placed there. "Someone did this recently," she said, her voice echoing in the cavern. "But who?" She turned to Atlas. "Begin a surface-level chemical analysis on these scratch marks. Look for any unusual residue that might match the artifact's composition." "Acknowledged," Atlas replied, extending a scanning probe from its forearm. As the robot worked, Delgado and Tenzin explored the cavern's perimeter. They found nothing else out of the ordinary, just ancient relics consistent with traditional Tibetan burials. After several hours, they had gathered all the data they could. The sun was low when they emerged from the cave, each step sending pebbles clattering into the ravine below. A hush fell over the group. The immensity of the landscape and the mystery weighed heavily. "Another advanced device in an ancient site," Delgado mused aloud, gazing at the sweeping Himalayan vista. "It's almost blasphemous." Felicia didn't respond, her thoughts drifting to Fang and Carmen in Indonesia, likely encountering a similar enigma under the hot, humid canopy of the rainforest. 4. Meanwhile in Indonesia. Half a world away, Dr. Fang and Carmen Ochoa found themselves deep in the heart of Kalimantan, Indonesian Borneo. Their local guide, Rahim, navigated a narrow motorized canoe along a winding river, flanked by dense jungle. The air was thick with moisture and buzzing insects. "I could do without the mosquitoes," Carmen muttered, slapping her arm. Focus on the big mystery, Fang quipped, swatting at his own neck. The artifact rumored to be here was found near an ancient burial site belonging to the Dayak people. Rahim nodded. Dayak tribes have lived here for centuries. They have burial poles called Tiang Sandong, but the specific site you seek is deeper inland, not often visited. When they finally reached the designated spot, they disembarked into ankle-deep mud. Fang activated Sierra and Nova, the two new drone assistants, which rose smoothly into the air. Carmen donned lightweight exo-boots that helped navigate the uneven terrain. They trudged through the forest until they reached a small clearing. There, under a rough wooden shelter, were several Dayak burial poles, each intricately carved with symbols of animals and ancestors. At the base of one pole lay an indentation in the ground, a spot where the artifact had reportedly been found. Locals say it was discovered just days ago, Rahim explained. They brought it to the district officer, who sent images to anthropologists in Jakarta. Fang and Carmen approached the site cautiously. The ground-penetrating radar from Sierra drone revealed that the soil around the burial pole had been disturbed recently. Nova captured high-resolution images, scanning for metallic traces. Fang knelt, examining a faint imprint in the mud. This shape matches the general footprint of the device from Peru and Tibet, Fang said, glancing at Carmen. Identical curvature. Carmen frowned. Why place it here? Dayak burials have spiritual significance, but there's no apparent reason to hide a quantum device in a place so remote. Unless the choice of location is symbolic, Fang suggested. Whoever is doing this might be drawing on cultural or spiritual energies, or maybe just ensuring these objects remain undisturbed until discovered. They spent the next 2 days examining the site, interviewing local witnesses, and comparing notes with the district officer who'd first seen the device. As in Tibet and Peru, the story was the same. Advanced quantum technology placed in an ancient resting place, discovered only by happenstance. By the end of their field investigation, Fang and Carmen confirmed that the Indonesian artifact was virtually identical to the others. Late one evening, Fang sat hunched over a portable quantum workstation in their makeshift camp, trying to decode some partial data shared from Dr. Alvarez's team back in Cusco. I've been trying to see if there's any pattern in the encryption from the Peruvian artifact that might match local legends or anything referencing these sites, Fang muttered, exhaustion in his voice. But it's too obscure. Carmen stood nearby, arms folded. What if these artifacts are referencing each other somehow, like a distributed puzzle, each device containing a piece of the bigger picture? Fang looked up, eyes brightening with the idea. That's a possibility. If so, we might need multiple artifacts to crack the code. They might be interlinked quantumly. Which means we'd have to gather as many of them as possible, Carmen said. But that might be exactly what whoever planted them wants us to do. The thick jungle seemed to close in around them, the night alive with the cries of nocturnal creatures. Both felt a sense of foreboding. This was no longer just an academic quest. It was a global game of hide-and-seek, orchestrated by an unknown hand. 5. A revelatory meeting. A week passed. Felicia and Delgado completed their high-altitude research and returned to Lhasa for a brief respite. Fang and Carmen finished in Indonesia and headed to Jakarta. In daily encrypted conference calls with Alvarez's lab, they learned of new sightings, one in Papua New Guinea, another in the remote Altai Mountains of Mongolia, and yet another rumored in the deserts of northern Mexico. The puzzle was growing. With so many points on the globe, a pattern might emerge, if only they could see it. Finally, Dr. Alvarez summoned them all to a virtual meeting, broadcasting from Cusco. A large holographic globe spun before them in the meeting's central display. Red dots indicated confirmed or rumored artifact sites. It appears these sites form a ring around the Earth's equatorial and subtropical latitudes, Alvarez explained. We're still mapping new reports, but so far there's a band-like distribution. Are they evenly spaced? Felicia asked. Not perfectly, Alvarez replied, but there's a rough pattern, like a geospatial alignment. We suspect there could be more artifacts in other continents yet to be discovered. Any luck on the encryption? Fang asked, leaning forward in his seat. Alvarez's expression grew troubled. We've managed to decrypt a tiny fraction of the data. It appears to be some sort of layered set of instructions, possibly referencing coordinates or a mathematical code related to planetary alignments. But it's incomplete. We might need data from multiple artifacts to form the entire code. An uneasy silence fell over the digital conference. So whoever placed these is essentially forcing us to gather them all, Delgado said. A scavenger hunt on a planetary scale. And we're dancing to their tune, Felicia added, rubbing her temples. Alvarez nodded. Yes, but we have no choice if we want to solve this. We're organizing a centralized initiative, an international team of archaeologists, anthropologists, cryptographers, and AI experts, with you at the forefront. We aim to collect as many artifacts as we can, bring them to specialized labs, and try to unlock the code. But what if it's a trap? Carmen asked bluntly. Alvarez's gaze flickered. We've considered that. Security measures are being taken. Governments and private security firms are involved. This could be a major turning point in human history, a new technology or a new threat. The call ended with a mixture of determination and dread. Each participant felt the weight of an unfolding global mystery that now dwarfed their individual efforts. Outside, in the real world, day turned to night, or night to day, depending on the time zone. The Earth spun on, its ancient burial sites unexpectedly hosting artifacts of advanced quantum design. The ring of red dots on the holographic globe glimmered like a warning, an invitation or a challenge from an unseen puppet master. With more questions than answers, the team prepared for the next phase of their journey, one that would take them to even more remote corners of the world. And as the puzzle deepened, so did the suspicion that they might be on the precipice of an event that could rewrite the narrative of human civilization, or plunge it into chaos. Episode 4. A whisper of conspiracy, a roar of revelation. 1. Gathering the artifacts. Within a month, an unprecedented international collaboration took shape, codenamed Project Enigma. Felicia Morales and Dr. Fang served as scientific leads, coordinating with experts on 5 continents. Delgado handled logistics and security arrangements, while Carmen networked with local anthropologists and linguists to ensure cultural respect at each site. From the Tibetan Plateau to the Indonesian rainforests, from the deserts of Mexico to the remote mountain ranges of Mongolia, teams fanned out. Robots like Atlas, Vega, Sierra, Nova, and newly introduced units, Rhea and Prometheus, assisted with retrieval. By mid-October 2040, a total of 9 confirmed artifacts had been collected. Each one was strikingly similar, yet bore slight variations in fractal patterns, as if each were a puzzle piece. All 9 were sent to high-security labs in 3 locations: Cusco, Peru, home of the Quantum Eye; Zurich, Switzerland, housing the Aurora Quantum Supercluster; and Kyoto, Japan, with the Fujin Quantum mainframe. The encryption efforts proceeded around the clock. 2. The culmination at the Quantum Eye. Felicia found herself back in Cusco, heading a combined research team at the Quantum Eye lab. Security protocols had tightened significantly. Armed guards patrolled the perimeter, and the lab's corridors bristled with scanning devices. The artifacts themselves were encased in vacuum-sealed, magnetically shielded containment vessels. Each artifact was labeled by the site of discovery: Per-1, Peru; TIB-1, Tibet; IND-1, Indonesia; PNG-1, Papua New Guinea, MON1, Mongolia, MEX1, Mexico, and so on. We'll be introducing them into the quantum decryptor one at a time, Dr. Alvarez explained during a briefing. Then we'll attempt to combine partial data sets, hoping they unlock each other like interlaced keys. At the heart of the lab stood the quantum eye, a massive, spherical chamber that housed the superconducting qubits, enabling advanced entanglement computations. Rows of scientists manned consoles, with AI systems assisting in real-time data analysis. Delgado, standing next to Felicia, couldn't help but be awed by the scale of the operation. "This is bigger than I ever imagined. Feels like a scene out of a science fiction movie." Felicia nodded. "Yet, here we are, trying to crack the biggest mystery of our time." "Initiating sequence," announced a lab technician, "preparing TIB-1 for quantum link-up." Within minutes, the fractal lines on TIB-1 began to glow faintly under the scanning beams. Readouts flooded the screens with partial code sequences, more complex than any standard encryption scheme. Then they switched to IND-1, analyzing how it interlaced. Bits of data began to fill a central repository. Fang stepped forward, his eyes gleaming with excitement. "We're getting something," he said, pointing to a screen. "A partial map of wave function equations, possibly referencing geospatial coordinates." One by one, the artifacts were scanned, their quantum data flowing into the system. The final piece, MEX1, was introduced last. "Decryption threshold at 80%, a technician called out. "We're reaching synergy in the datasets." The entire lab hushed. Felicia glanced around, heart pounding, as lines of code transformed into visual patterns. Suddenly, a window of text began scrolling, written in an unknown language, part pictographic, part symbolic code. The system tried to auto-translate, but could only produce fragments. Time, circle, not alone, return, gateway. A hush fell as everyone exchanged confused and anxious looks. "Could this refer to some cyclical event?" Delgado asked. "Or a doorway, some kind of portal," Fang ventured. The text stream ended abruptly, replaced by a single string of symbols. Then, as if triggered by a hidden command, each artifact blinked out of sync and the lab's power supply dipped momentarily. "We have a system fluctuation," Alvarez cried. "Backup generators online. All teams stand by." Screens flickered. One of the robotic arms that held MEX-1 retracted abruptly, almost as if forced by an unseen hand. Then the lights stabilized and the data feed cut off. "What just happened?" Felicia asked, her voice tense. "It's like a failsafe kicked in," Fang said. "As soon as the partial code was revealed, the artifacts shut down or changed state. We can't read them anymore." Alvarez, breathing heavily, nodded at a set of final readouts. "We got only a fraction, but it's enough to form a partial narrative. A mention of an impending event, something about cyclical cosmic alignment, and references to multiple gateways. This could be astronomical, like an alignment of planets or celestial bodies. Or something else entirely," Felicia added. "But we're dealing with a countdown. The code references a time frame. Maybe soon." They had more questions than answers, yet an urgency now gripped the research team. Something was going to happen, and the artifacts were either a warning or a key. 3. The conspiracy unfolds. While the scientists scrambled to make sense of the partial data, the intelligence and security agencies involved in Project Enigma began their own investigations. Rumors spread of break-ins at labs housing the artifacts. A black market demand arose for any information related to them. A shadowy group, whispered to be a rogue corporate or government faction, seemed determined to claim the devices for themselves. Felicia noticed men and women in dark suits lurking in the corridors of the Quantum Eye lab, scanning ID badges and asking pointed questions. Delgado confided that he'd been approached by someone offering money in exchange for details on the artifacts. "They're calling themselves the Sentinels of the Watch, or something like that, Delgado told Felicia, pulling her aside in a quiet hallway. They claim these artifacts are harbingers of an alien invasion, and they want to keep it secret until they can develop countermeasures. Sounds paranoid, Felicia whispered, shaken. We have no hard evidence of an alien threat. People are scared. The unknown can bring out all sorts of conspiracy theories, Delgado said. We just need to focus on the facts. But the tension was palpable. Global news outlets, picking up scraps of rumors, began running sensational stories about alien relics in ancient tombs. Governments issued vague denials. Online forums exploded with doomsday speculation. Meanwhile, Dr. Alvarez received an encrypted message from the Zurich lab. They had discovered a new line of code hidden deep in the MEX-1 artifact's data, referencing a location in the southwestern United States. It points to the Four Corners region, Alvarez explained in an urgent phone call. The cryptographers there think it might be the site of another artifact or a final clue. We have to investigate, Felicia said. Time could be running out. Thus, it was decided. Felicia, Delgado, Fang, and Carmen would converge in the Four Corners area, a region where Arizona, Utah, Colorado, and New Mexico meet. The next piece of the puzzle lay somewhere within that desert landscape. Fourth Desert Pursuit. Within days, the core team arrived in a small town on the Navajo Nation reservation. The early winter sun cast long shadows across the rugged mesas and red rock formations. Old highways stretched out in ribbons, dotted by tumbleweeds and occasional roadside diners. Local rumor hinted at a newly found cave in a remote canyon with ancient petroglyphs that matched some of the glyphs in the decrypted code. The Navajo elders mentioned it quietly, wary of outsiders. Still, Felicia and the group gained their trust through respectful negotiation and the promise to preserve any cultural artifacts. Guided by a Navajo ranger named John Begay, they set off in off-road vehicles, eventually abandoning them for a rugged hike through canyons carved by millennia of wind and water. The landscape was breathtaking. Red sandstone cliffs, narrow washes, and hidden alcoves. The place you're looking for is up ahead, John said, pointing to a towering rock formation. Locals call it Tsegahudzani, a name associated with strange legends. Usually, we leave it alone. Deep in a winding canyon, they found a cave entrance half hidden by collapsed boulders. Squeezing through the gap, they emerged into a cavern illuminated by cracks in the ceiling. Petroglyphs lined the walls, spiral shapes, animals, and something resembling star constellations. Carmen gasped. These symbols, they're similar to the partial translations we have from the artifacts. Then we're on the right track, Fang said, scanning the walls with Sierra drone. Felicia approached a large spiral carving. Her heart pounded at the similarity to the fractal lines on the quantum devices. Look here. She traced a set of lines leading to a recessed alcove in the cave's wall. Something might have been hidden inside. Atlas stepped forward, shining a built-in spotlight. In that alcove, they saw a smooth depression in the rock, evidence that an object had once been placed there. Traces of metallic residue gleamed faintly. It's empty, Delgado observed. We're too late. Suddenly, Fang's scanner beeped. He glanced at the readout, eyes widening. There's a strong electromagnetic signal emanating from below us, about 30 meters down, under the cavern floor. The team exchanged looks. Could there be another artifact buried underground? If so, they needed to get to it. But how? Let's see if there's another passage, Felicia suggested. They split up, carefully exploring the cavern. Nova drone discovered a narrow tunnel behind a rock slide. Atlas and Delgado worked to clear the rubble, while Carmen, Fang, and Felicia stood guard. Everyone, hush, Carmen suddenly whispered. Footsteps echoed behind them. A flicker of light. Figures with flashlights and advanced gear appeared at the cave entrance, wearing no recognizable insignia. One of them aimed a device that jammed the drone's signals momentarily. Another barked an order in a language Felicia couldn't identify. They must be after the artifact, Fang said, tensing up. Delgado and Atlas hurriedly cleared the last rocks. This way! Hurry! Delgado called. In the confusion, the unknown group advanced. Two of them brandished firearms. Shots ricocheted off the cavern walls, sending dust and rock fragments into the air. Felicia's heart thundered. They dove into the newly revealed tunnel just in time, with Atlas blocking incoming fire. "We have to move!" Delgado yelled. They scrambled down a steep passage lit by the drone's emergency lights, the walls narrowing until they reached an underground chamber. The floor was slick with moisture, and in the center, half buried in sediment, lay something metallic, glinting faintly in the drone light. "That must be it," Carmen said, breathless. Atlas and Vega scanned the object. It was reminiscent of the other artifacts, but larger, shaped like a curved shell with more crystalline nodules. This one seemed inactive, buried for who knew how long. "I'm reading a massive quantum signature," Fang reported, voice trembling with excitement. "This could be the final piece that completes the code." But footsteps clattered behind them. The mysterious group had caught up. One man in black tactical gear lunged forward, brandishing a stun baton. Delgado tackled him, knocking the baton aside. Another fired a shot that sparked off the cavern wall, dangerously close to Felicia. Carmen grabbed Felicia's arm. "We have to get the artifact out of here." With Atlas's help, they lifted the device. It was surprisingly light for its size, a testament to advanced metamaterials. They retreated further into the tunnel, guided by a scanning route. Delgado and Fang provided cover, using handheld stun guns to fend off the attackers. The chase led them into a labyrinth of twisting passages. In the darkness, the artifact glowed faintly, as if responding to the adrenaline-fueled chaos. Eventually, they found a route leading back to the surface, emerging onto a ledge halfway up the canyon wall. Wind whipped at them, the desert sun blinding. They could hear more gunfire echoing from below. Hastily, they secured ropes and rappelled down the cliff, cradling the artifact in a harness strapped to Atlas. By the time they reached the canyon floor, John Begay and a team of local rangers, alerted by the commotion, swooped in, forcing the attackers to withdraw. Gasping for breath, Felicia looked at the metallic shell they had risked their lives to secure. It pulsed faintly, as if alive. She couldn't help but feel that they were mere pawns in a far larger game, orchestrated by unseen hands. 5. Uncovering the next level. Safely back at a secured lab in Flagstaff, Arizona, the team wasted no time analyzing the newly acquired artifact, labeled USA-1. Using portable quantum scanners, Fang discovered that it contained a more extensive data set than all previous artifacts combined. "This might be the master key," he said, eyes lit with an almost feverish excitement. "If we integrate it with the 9 others, we could crack the entire code." However, the scans also revealed something else, a set of cryptic instructions about an impending cosmic event referencing precise astronomical coordinates. The data pointed to a date, just weeks away, where Earth would align with a cluster of cosmic phenomena, possibly a meteor shower or a solar-lunar synergy. "What does it mean?" Carmen wondered aloud. "A catastrophe? A gateway opening? We're still guessing." Felicia rubbed her temples, the puzzle pieces swirling in her mind. "All we know is that these devices were planted to guide us here. And now we have a date." Delgado paced the room. "We should reconvene at Cusco or one of the other main labs, unify the data with the full computing power. Time's running out." They made arrangements, reaching out to Dr. Alvarez and the Global Consortium. Security would be paramount. The group that attacked them in the canyon was likely just one of many factions desperate to control the artifacts. As they prepared to leave, Felicia found a moment to stand alone with the artifact. She placed a hand on its cool surface, feeling a silent hum beneath her fingertips. "What are you?" she whispered, half hoping for an answer. In that moment, the hum seemed to intensify, or perhaps it was her imagination. Yet, deep down, Felicia sensed that the final revelation, whatever it was, would be more mind-bending and unexpected than any of them could predict. And so, with hearts pounding and minds brimming with questions, they journeyed back into the unknown, anticipating a climax that promised either illumination or chaos. Episode 5. Revelation and a New Mystery Dawns. 1. The Grand Convergence. A tense fortnight followed. All the artifacts, 10 in total, were brought to a newly fortified section of the Quantum Eye facility in Cusco. Military personnel guarded the perimeter. Secure satellite uplinks allowed collaboration with Zurich, Kyoto, and other global research hubs. Scientists, cryptographers, and AI experts from around the world gathered, forming an unprecedented think tank. Felicia, Delgado, Fang, and Carmen took center stage, presenting their findings and coordinating the final integration of data. Dr. Alvarez oversaw the entire operation like a conductor guiding an orchestra. "We have less than 2 weeks until the date indicated by the final artifact," Alvarez reminded them during a briefing. "If this code points to a cosmic alignment or event, we need to know what we're dealing with, ASAP." Fang, bleary-eyed from lack of sleep, tapped a series of commands into the quantum console. The 10 artifacts were placed in a circular array within the superconducting chamber, each one linked to the quantum computing core by specialized couplers. "We're about to try something unprecedented," Fang said. "Each artifact acts like a quantum storage node. If they resonate in sync, we might unlock the entire data set." Carmen hovered nearby, triple-checking the fractal patterns, while Delgado kept an eye on the lab's security monitors. Felicia watched from an observation platform, heart thumping in anticipation. "Initiating entanglement sequence," Fang called out. The lights dimmed. A low hum filled the chamber. One by one, the artifacts glowed, their crystal nodes lighting up like tiny galaxies. The hum rose in pitch, and a flurry of data started streaming across the screens. Complex fractal images, cryptic symbols, and wave function diagrams flickered faster than the human eye could follow. Then, abruptly, everything went silent. The artifact's glow faded, replaced by a stable, pulsing aura. On the main monitor, lines of deciphered text formed. "We are the circle of the future. We hide among the past to shape tomorrow. Prepare for the crossing. Coordinates: 14 degrees south, 72 degrees west. Date: the next eclipse." A collective gasp rippled through the lab. "That coordinate is near." Felicia paused, cross-referencing a map. "That's in Peru, not far from here, in the Andes, near the region of Choqquequirao, I believe." Alvarez typed furiously, verifying. "Yes, it's an uncharted area near the ancient ruins. The next eclipse is in 9 days, a total solar eclipse visible in parts of South America." "The code says, 'Prepare for the crossing,'" Delgado repeated, eyes wide. "A crossing into what?" Carmen asked, voice trembling with excitement and fear. No one answered. The lab was electric with tension. The puzzle had led them back to Peru, near another ancient site. Perhaps the final piece lay there, waiting to reveal the artifact's true purpose. Second race against time. A new expedition was organized at breakneck speed. Helicopters, drones, and specialized gear were gathered. A multinational team consisting of Felicia, Delgado, Fang, Carmen, Alvarez, and a select group of AI robots, Atlas, Vega, Nova, Sierra, Rhea, and Prometheus, readied for departure. They had 9 days until the solar eclipse, time enough to locate the precise site and see what awaited them. Rumors flew. Was it a secret technology demonstration? A message from future humans or time travelers? or an alien infiltration disguised as man-made devices. Despite the swirling theories, the team pressed on. By dawn of the next day, they were airborne, headed to a high-altitude region near Choquequirao. Felicia stared out the helicopter window, watching the jagged peaks rise to meet them. In her pocket, she carried a small, palm-sized crystal node, one removed from an artifact for portable study. She felt an odd sense of destiny, as though every step of her life had led to this journey. They established a base camp in a narrow valley, overshadowed by towering cliffs and shrouded by morning mist. The team began scanning the area using advanced ground-penetrating radar and satellite uplinks. "We're looking for any sign of ancient structures or caves that might correspond to the coordinates," Delgado explained to the assembled group. The first day yielded little but dense rock formations. On the second day, the drones uncovered a hidden canyon partially masked by centuries-old landslides. It matched the coordinates closely. "That must be it," Fang said, eyes shining. "Let's move out." 3. The Hidden Temple. Navigating the landslide debris was treacherous. The slope was riddled with loose boulders and unstable ground. At times, the team had to use rope lines hammered into bedrock to prevent deadly falls. Vega and Nova scouted ahead, mapping the route in real time. Finally, they reached a plateau that ended at a sheer cliff face. Carved into this cliff was an ancient gateway, its stone lintels decorated with glyphs reminiscent of Inca or pre-Inca art, yet with patterns strangely echoing the fractal designs on the artifacts. "We've never seen or documented this site," Delgado murmured, adjusting his headlamp. "It's not in any records." Fang set up a portable quantum sensor near the entrance. The readings spiked immediately. "This place is saturated with the same quantum resonance we picked up from the artifacts." A hush fell as they entered the gateway. Torch-like LED beams illuminated a vast chamber carved into the mountain's heart. Pillars lined the walls, each inscribed with geometric symbols. At the far end stood a circular dais, reminiscent of an ancient altar, but constructed from a metal and stone composite. "Could this be from the same technology that made the artifacts?" Carmen asked, stepping carefully. Atlas and Prometheus scanned the dais. Their data revealed a hidden mechanism beneath. With Dr. Alvarez's direction, they removed a covering stone, revealing a metallic port shaped exactly like the base of the newly discovered artifact from Four Corners, USA 1. "It's a docking station," Fang realized. "We're meant to place the artifact here." Felicia felt a surge of adrenaline. This was it. The reason the artifacts existed, to guide them to this hidden temple. But for what purpose? "Let's bring USA 1, Delgado said. "Carefully." They retrieved the artifact from its protective case. As Atlas lowered it onto the dais, a soft glow emanated from the metal. The dais pulsed to life, arcs of light dancing along engraved channels. A low drone filled the chamber. Suddenly, the other artifacts, placed in a ring around the dais, activated in sync, shining like stars. Data streamed across the portable monitors. The atmosphere seemed to vibrate with unseen energy. "We have an energy buildup," Alvarez warned, checking readouts. "It's stable for now, but intense." The dais center opened, revealing a swirling void of luminescent vapor. It looked like a vortex of light, spinning slowly, beckoning them. "Is that a gateway?" Carmen whispered, eyes wide with awe. "We might be looking at a quantum bridge phenomenon," Fang speculated, voice trembling. "A distortion in space-time. Could it be a portal to somewhere else, sometime else?" Astonished, the team watched as the swirling aperture expanded, forming a translucent arch-like structure. On the other side, vague shapes of a different environment flickered, rocks and a star-filled sky, but not the same sky above Peru. "The eclipse is in 2 days," Felicia reminded them. "The code mentioned a crossing then. Maybe the alignment will power this gateway fully." 4. A thin veil. The team decided to hold fast in the temple, monitoring the phenomenon. Over the next day, the vortex ebbed and flowed, never disappearing entirely. As the hours ticked toward the eclipse, the energy readings soared. Felicia paced the chamber, her mind buzzing with possibilities. Could this truly be a bridge to another world, another time, or a hidden dimension? Who built it? Circle of the future, the code had said. Were these the cryptic architects? We've got to be cautious, Delgado said. Stepping into that thing could be a one-way trip. Fang nodded grimly. But we need to see what's on the other side. It might be the only way to solve this puzzle. All the artifacts have led us here, Carmen added. It can't be a coincidence. This is what they were meant to do. At dawn of the second day, the partial solar eclipse began, the moon creeping over the sun's disk. A hush fell in the temple as the outside light dimmed, the stone walls casting strange shadows. As totality approached, the vortex intensified, growing taller and more opaque. It shimmered with faint colors as if reflecting a distant galaxy. The artifact array beeped, displaying a countdown to the moment of total eclipse. Here we go, Felicia whispered, adrenaline surging. When the moon fully covered the sun, darkness enveloped the region. In the temple, the dais erupted with brilliance. The vortex flared, stabilizing into a transparent tunnel. On its far end, they glimpsed a rocky landscape lit by unfamiliar constellations. The air crackled with electricity. This is insane, Delgado muttered, voice filled with awe and fear. Fang, eyes locked on the monitors, announced, "Energy levels stable. The gate is open, but we don't know for how long." A single voice broke the tension. Felicia spoke up, stepping cautiously toward the portal. "We have to see what's there." "Wait, we should send a drone first," Alvarez said, grabbing Felicia's arm. "She's right," Delgado agreed, exhaling shakily. "Let's not risk a human life unnecessarily." Atlas launched a small reconnaissance drone, Micro-Eye, into the vortex. For a moment, it vanished entirely. Then a signal returned, albeit distorted. The drone's camera showed a desolate, rocky terrain under a twilight sky, the horizon dominated by strange rock spires. Then the feed cut to static. "It got some footage, at least," Fang said, analyzing the data. "Atmospheric composition looks similar to Earth's, but the star patterns are different. We might be looking at another planet, or maybe Earth in a different epoch." A heavy silence gripped the chamber. The portal's swirling lights reflected in everyone's eyes, a luminous temptation. 5. The surprising and unexpected climax. Time was short, only a few minutes of totality remained. Felicia looked at Delgado, Fang, Carmen, and Alvarez, seeing the same mixture of fear and curiosity that churned within herself. "I'm going," she declared, voice trembling but resolute. Delgado gripped her shoulder. "We're all going. Together." Carmen and Fang nodded, though Alvarez hesitated. "One team, maximum of 4, she finally said, tears at the edge of her eyes. "The rest will stay to monitor and keep the gateway stable. You have 1 hour if the portal remains. Take your suits, breathing apparatus, everything you can." Hurriedly, they prepared. Atlas accompanied them, loaded with equipment. Vega and the other drones stayed to help Alvarez. With hearts pounding like war drums, Felicia, Delgado, Fang, and Carmen stepped onto the dais. "Good luck," Alvarez whispered, her words carrying the weight of finality. They took one step forward, passing through the swirling membrane. A tingling cold enveloped them. Reality seemed to stretch, then snapped back into place. They found themselves on a rocky plateau, air thin but breathable, the sky an alien tapestry of unfamiliar stars. Mountains loomed in the distance, bathed in dim twilight. "We made it," Fang breathed, scanning their surroundings. "This is not Earth. At least, not Earth as we know it." A faint path led from the plateau into a canyon. Strange rock formations dotted the landscape. The silence was eerie, broken only by the team's soft footsteps and the hum of Atlas's servos. "I'm picking up a faint quantum signal," Atlas said in a calm, synthetic voice. They followed the signal deeper into the canyon, each step a leap into the unknown. Eventually, they reached a cluster of low structures or ruins, their architecture resembling a mixture of natural rock and engineered design. In the center of the largest ruin stood a pillar, etched with more fractal symbols. It pulsed with the same energy signature as the artifacts. "So, this is the source," Carmen murmured. Without warning, the pillar flared to life, projecting a holographic image in the air. A figure appeared, humanoid but indistinct, robed and faceless. It spoke in a shimmering voice, fragments of which the translator integrated into English. "Welcome, travelers. We are the Circle of the Future, guardians of the Great Crossing. You have passed our trials, found our keys. Now witness our place among the stars. We are your descendants, from another timeline. We sow seeds in the past to guide our own creation." Stunned silence. The figure continued. "Time is not a line, but a tapestry. We safeguard humanity's future by weaving our presence into your past. This world is one possible branch. The crossing draws near, and choices shape what is yet to come. Carry our memory back. Our existence ensures your tomorrow." Then the figure faded, leaving them with more questions than answers. Were these time-traveling humans from a future that diverged, placing artifacts in ancient tombs to ensure humankind discovered this gateway and shaped the correct timeline? Fang whispered. "They're future humans ensuring a stable loop, or maybe a better outcome. The artifact puzzle was their way to steer us here." "Incredible," Felicia said, tears in her eyes. "We're standing in a place that might be Earth's distant future or an alternate timeline. They guided us to preserve their existence." Delgado stared at the horizon, speechless. Carmen wept quietly, overwhelmed by the implications. Time, however, was running out. The partial eclipse had ended on Earth, and the portal's duration was uncertain. An urgent beep came from their suits, a recall signal from Alvarez's monitoring team. "We have to go back," Delgado said, voice heavy with both wonder and regret. They retraced their steps to the plateau. The swirling portal was already flickering. With a final look at the alien sky, they stepped through. A flash of disorientation, and they were back in the Andean temple, stumbling onto the dais as the vortex collapsed behind them. Alvarez rushed to them, relief on her face. The artifacts around the dais dimmed, their purpose fulfilled. Felicia tried to speak, but words failed to capture the enormity of what they'd witnessed. In the following days, the team documented every detail of their experience: the data from the remote world, the recorded holographic message, the star maps. The artifacts were now dormant, the portal closed. Governments argued over disclosure, conspiracy groups howled for secrecy. Yet the knowledge existed. Humanity was linked to a future or alternate timeline, guided by those who came before or after. A new mystery dawned. If the Circle of the Future ensured a timeline in which humanity thrived, what other branches existed? What else might be out there, seeding the past for their own survival? Epilogue. In a quiet moment at the lab, Felicia held that small crystal node in her hand, recalling the haunting alien sky and the robed hologram's words. The artifacts had fulfilled their mission, but they left behind a legacy of infinite possibilities. As she gazed at the dormant node, she felt both wonder and trepidation. The story was far from over. Another crossing might come, another door might open, and humanity would again face the unknown. Because once you knew that time was a tapestry and not a line, the future was no longer a distant horizon. It was a path weaving in and out of the present, beckoning, shaping, and forever mysterious.